There is a stillness within you, always present, always waiting. It does not ask for your attention, yet it holds everything you seek. Peace, clarity, freedom from the burden of constant thought. Most people spend their lives searching outside themselves, running toward an imagined future or reliving a past that no longer exists. But the truth is far simpler. Everything you need is here in this moment. When you become truly present, you step out of the mind's endless chatter. You begin to notice life in its raw, unfiltered beauty. The rustling of leaves, the gentle rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, these are not small things. They are life itself, unfolding in front of you. And when you become aware of them, something shifts. The weight you have carried, the worries, the regrets, the fears, begins to dissolve. Mindfulness is not just a practice, it is a way of being. It opens doors you never realized were closed. When you are present, your actions are no longer reactions. You are no longer a prisoner of thought patterns that repeat endlessly. Instead, you respond with clarity, with wisdom, with an inner knowing that was always there, but had been drowned out by noise. You may have believed that peace comes from fixing things, from controlling outcomes, from making life bend to your will. But true peace arises when you no longer resist what is. In mindfulness, you discover a quiet strength, one that does not come from striving, but from allowing. You stop chasing happiness and realize that it has been with you all along, hidden beneath layers of distraction and illusion. Worry is the mind's way of trying to grasp control over something it cannot change. It exists in the space between what is and what the mind believes should be. The moment you begin to worry, you are no longer here. You have stepped into a mental projection, an imagined future filled with uncertainty, fear, and scenarios that may never come to pass. Yet in that moment, it feels real. It feels urgent. The mind convinces you that if you just think about it enough, if you analyze every possibility, you will somehow gain control over the uncontrollable. But what happens when you shift your attention to this very moment, right now, in this instant? Is there truly a problem, or is it only the mind's narrative that makes it seem so? Without the mind weaving its story, worry has no substance. It cannot exist without time. It feeds on the future, on the unknown, on the endless possibilities that never materialize. The present moment, however, is free of it. The now is complete. It lacks nothing. There is no fear in the now, because fear requires anticipation. When you become deeply present, you notice that worry begins to dissolve. Not because the external situation has changed, but because you have stepped out of the mind's endless loop. You see reality as it is, rather than through the lens of fear. There is a vast difference between taking action from a place of presence and being caught in the cycle of worry. When you are present, action is clear, effortless, and direct. When you are lost in worry, action is clouded by doubt, hesitation, and confusion. Worry creates tension in the body, tightness in the chest, a restlessness that keeps you from truly experiencing life. It is exhausting, yet it offers nothing in return. It does not prevent problems. It does not change the future. It only drains energy, leaving you feeling powerless. But when you shift your focus to the present, when you become aware of your breath, your surroundings, the sensations in your body, you interrupt the cycle. You step into a space where worry cannot reach you. In that space, there is calm, there is clarity, and from that clarity, true solutions arise, not from fear, but from a deep and grounded awareness. Most of what we worry about never happens. The mind creates endless possibilities, most of which never unfold, and even when challenges do arise, they are always faced in the present moment, never in the future where worry imagines them. This realization changes everything. It shows you that the mind's predictions are unreliable. It reveals that your energy is better spent being fully engaged with life as it is, rather than being lost in thoughts of what might be. When you are present, you reclaim your power. You no longer hand it over to an imaginary future. You begin to trust in life. Not in a passive way, but in a way that allows you to meet each moment as it comes, with full awareness and without resistance. Worry is resistance to what is. Presence is acceptance. And in that acceptance you find a strength you never knew was there. The mind is constantly filtering reality through layers of past conditioning, beliefs, and fears. It takes what is and molds it into what it expects to see. Most people are not seeing life as it truly is. They are seeing a projection, a version of reality shaped by their thoughts. This creates confusion, misunderstanding, and unnecessary suffering. The more the mind interprets, labels, and judges, the further one moves from the raw clarity of the present moment. When awareness is brought into the present, something profound happens. The mental noise begins to fade, and a new kind of clarity emerges. This clarity is not the result of thinking harder or analyzing more. It arises naturally when the mind is quiet. When you simply observe, without adding interpretation, the world reveals itself in a way that is fresh, unfiltered, and deeply alive. The trees are no longer just trees. They are a vibrant expression of life. The sound of the wind is no longer background noise. It is an intricate, ever-changing symphony. Everything becomes more vivid, more real. This level of awareness also transforms how you perceive yourself. Without mindfulness, the mind constantly reinforces an identity based on past experiences, stories, and roles. It tells you who you are based on memories and external definitions. But when awareness deepens, the sense of self begins to shift. You start to realize that you are not the thoughts in your mind, nor the labels placed upon you. You are the awareness itself, the presence that is observing everything unfold. This realization is not intellectual, it is experiential. It is a direct knowing that comes from being fully present. The clarity that arises through awareness is not just limited to perception, it extends to decision-making and action. When the mind is clouded by thoughts, decisions feel difficult. There is hesitation, doubt, and fear of making the wrong choice. But when awareness is sharp, decisions become effortless. The right course of action presents itself naturally, without struggle. This is because awareness allows you to see situations as they truly are, without the distortion of fear or past conditioning. It removes the unnecessary complexity that the mind adds and reveals a simplicity that was always there. Another hidden benefit of deep awareness is the ability to see the underlying patterns in life. Without presence, events seem random, disconnected, and chaotic. But when attention is fully in the now, a deeper order is revealed. You start to notice synchronicities, subtle connections, and the way life unfolds in perfect timing. You see how thoughts shape reality, how emotions influence experiences, and how external events often mirror internal states. This insight does not come from logical analysis. It arises spontaneously when you are fully present. Bringing awareness into relationships transforms how you connect with others. Most communication is clouded by mental projections, assumptions, and reactions. People listen through the filter of their own thoughts, rarely hearing what is actually being said. But when you bring presence into an interaction, you truly listen. You hear not just the words, but the energy behind them. You become aware of the pauses, the unspoken emotions, the subtleties that are usually overlooked. This deep listening dissolves misunderstanding and creates a space where true connection can emerge. In this state of heightened awareness, even challenges are seen differently. Without presence, problems seem overwhelming, insurmountable. The mind fixates on difficulties, making them appear larger than they are. But when awareness is sharp, there is a shift in perspective. Problems are no longer seen as obstacles. They are simply situations that need attention. Solutions arise more naturally because there is no resistance, no unnecessary mental struggle. The moment is met as it is, without the added burden of mental stories. With deep awareness, clarity becomes your natural state. Life is no longer filtered through the distortions of overthinking, and you begin to see with fresh eyes. Most people go through life reacting automatically to situations, repeating the same emotional patterns without realizing it. A word, a look, or even a passing thought can trigger an unconscious response, and before any real awareness arises, they are already caught in it. The reaction comes fast: anger, frustration, defensiveness, or anxiety. These responses seem natural, but they are not truly conscious. They are patterns formed over years, reinforced by habit, fueled by past experiences, and repeated so often that they feel like the only possible way to react. Yet they are not. There is another way, one that does not involve being controlled by emotions or external circumstances. When mindfulness is cultivated, a space begins to appear between what happens and how you respond. In that space, awareness grows. Instead of being pulled into automatic reactions, you start to notice them as they arise. You see the irritation forming before it turns into words. You feel the anxiety stirring before it takes over your thoughts. You become aware of the internal shift that happens before a habitual response takes hold. That awareness is powerful. It is the key to breaking free from unconscious reactivity. The moment you observe a reaction forming, you are no longer fully inside it. You become the witness rather than the participant. This alone changes everything. Instead of acting from a place of emotion, you now have a choice. You can let the reaction go. You can pause. You can take a breath. That simple shift creates an entirely different reality. Instead of being lost in anger, you recognize it for what it is, just an energy moving through you, not something that defines you. Instead of getting carried away by stress, you notice the tension in your body and release it before it escalates. The reaction loses its grip the moment awareness is brought to it. This shift also changes relationships. When unconscious reactions control interactions, misunderstandings and conflicts arise quickly. A simple remark can be misinterpreted, triggering an emotional chain reaction that leads to unnecessary tension. But with mindfulness, you no longer react impulsively. You listen differently. You hear the words being spoken rather than projecting meanings onto them. You sense the emotions behind the words rather than reacting only to the surface level. This deepens understanding and prevents unnecessary suffering. When presence replaces reactivity, an inner stillness develops. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself constantly. You do not get pulled into arguments that drain your energy. You stop personalizing every situation. A sense of calm arises that is not dependent on external circumstances. This calmness is not passive, it is a quiet strength, a centered awareness that allows you to move through life without being thrown off balance by every little challenge. There is also a freedom that comes from no longer being controlled by habitual reactions. When you observe a reaction forming but do not act on it, you experience a moment of pure awareness. In that moment, you are free. Free from the conditioning of the past, free from the automatic responses that have shaped your experience, free from being a prisoner of your emotions. This is not suppression, it is transformation. The emotions are still felt, but they are no longer controlling you. They move through you, but they do not define you. With continued mindfulness, a deeper intelligence begins to guide actions. Responses come not from emotional impulses, but from a place of clarity and wisdom. Decisions are no longer made out of fear or frustration, but out of understanding and presence. Challenges are met with patience rather than resistance. Each moment is seen clearly without the distortion of past conditioning or future fears. In this state, life unfolds with greater ease and interactions become more harmonious. True strength does not come from force, from struggle, or from the ability to control everything around you. The kind of strength that endures, that brings peace rather than exhaustion, arises from stillness. This stillness is not passive, it is not inaction or indifference. It is a deep inner presence, a quiet space within that remains untouched by external chaos. Most people search for strength in effort, in pushing harder, in trying to bend life to their will. Yet the more they try to control, the more they feel out of control. The mind believes that strength is in doing, but real power is in being. When there is inner stillness, challenges no longer feel overwhelming. Situations that once triggered frustration or fear no longer have the same effect. This is not because the external world has changed, but because the way it is experienced has shifted. In stillness, there is a natural intelligence that arises, a deep knowing that does not come from the mind's constant analysis. It does not react impulsively, it does not seek validation, it does not grasp for control, It simply sees things as they are and moves from that clarity. Most of the suffering people experience comes not from the actual events of life, but from their resistance to those events. The mind resists what is, arguing with reality, wishing things were different. This resistance creates tension, stress, and frustration. Stillness, on the other hand, allows what is to be as it is. It does not mean passively accepting everything without action. It means acting from a place of inner peace rather than from turmoil. Action taken from stillness is far more powerful than action taken from fear or frustration. It is precise, clear, and effective. It is not scattered or impulsive. A still mind is not a weak mind. It is not a mind that avoids challenges or ignores difficulties. It is a mind that sees through illusion, that does not get caught in unnecessary mental struggle. There is an ease that comes with this stillness, a sense of trust in life. This trust is not blind optimism. It is the understanding that struggling against the present moment only creates suffering. When stillness is present, there is an unshakable confidence, not the kind that comes from ego, but the kind that comes from a deep-rooted awareness of what is real. This inner stillness also transforms interactions with others. When someone is centered, they do not react defensively. They do not need to prove themselves or dominate conversations. They listen fully, without the need to plan their response while the other person is speaking. They respond with clarity rather than emotion. This creates a space where true communication can happen, where understanding deepens. People are naturally drawn to those who have this quiet strength because it creates a sense of safety, of calm in a world that is often chaotic. Stillness does not mean suppressing emotions. It means being aware of them without being controlled by them. Emotions rise and fall, but in stillness they are observed rather than acted upon impulsively. Fear, anger, sadness, these emotions lose their grip when they are seen with full awareness. They may still be felt, but they do not dictate actions. This is true power, the ability to feel everything without being consumed by anything.